Hello everyone. Today we are talking about Partscasters. So, why do we want to do this anyway? First of all, it's fun. And we like to do things that are fun, don't we? Second of all, you get a guitar that's more or less to your own specs straight out the gate, rather than spending a fortune on a guitar, deciding you don't like the pickups or you don't like the neck or whatever. You can just kind of build it to your own specs right from the start. Now you're mainly limited to the Fender style guitars like the Stratocaster, Telecaster, Jazzmaster, etc. But there's some other options out there like, Warmoth, for example, has some other body styles and other neck headstock styles you can choose from. There's also cheaper parts like, Amazon, of course. There's guitarfetish.com. There's some other builders out there. There's more expensive options out there as well. What I usually do is get Fender parts, just because I have a certain standard where I want to use these guitars either live or in the studio, so I don't really want a cheaper style guitar. But if you want to do it, just mess around with budget parts. There's super cheap parts out there, of course, Amazon and Guitar Fetish. And Temu has some junk parts if you want to try that, but hey, whatever floats your boat. So what about cost? Well, that's everybody's question, isn't it? So you can go completely insane if you want to and try to put together the most expensive thing ever and just go nuts on the, the woods and everything if you want. Or what I'd like to do is kind of hit that price point that's in between the Mexico Fenders and the US Fenders. There's not a lot of great options in there. There's like, signature models and things like that. But if you start with bodies and necks and the raw parts and add the pickups and parts, you can kind of end up in that in-between phase and you can get something that's better than the Mexican Strats and, equal to or similar to the US Strats. Like with this guitar here, this is my main live guitar. I've got a Mexico body with a US neck and some different pickups in it, which I'll talk about a little later. What I'm going to do is run through all of my Partscasters so that you can see if you get any inspiration, ideas, or just kind of see some of the possibilities of what I've worked through. So my strategy has been to wait for sales, just be patient, and you can find things anywhere from 10 to 50% off. Fender had a great sale not too long ago on accessories where the necks and bodies were on sale for, if you bought two, you got 33% off both. So that was a pretty big deal. I picked up quite a few necks and some bodies with that sale and saved a lot of money. There's also places like Warmoth, Stu Mac, Musician's Friend, of course Amazon, where you can kind of get things on sale if you just kind of are patient and watch for things. Amplifiedparts.com is another place where I get a lot of like the electronics and some of the parts. They have sales every once in a while as well, so I've waited for those to pick up things that I need and kind of buy things in bulk where necessary. You can also sometimes skimp on some of the less important parts and, spend the money on things like the pickups and the neck. Those are kind of the two most important things. The body really doesn't matter as much as people say it does. Body wood is not that big of a deal. I look for light more than anything. Honestly, I've had these pickups in several different guitars and they sound pretty much the same no matter what the body wood is. So now I'm going to run through all the Partscasters that I've built just so you can see if you get any ideas, inspiration, etc. And I'll kind of walk through the parts and what I've done with them and sometimes how I use them, etc. So let's do that now. So let's go over all of what I've done to this guitar. This guitar started out as a blacktop Strat, Sonic Blue, Mexico-made Strat. And the original neck that came with it, there was something weird with the truss rod, but it still worked. It was just perfectly flat the whole time, but you couldn't adjust the truss rod. So the guitar originally came with two Seymour Duncan Fat Cat pickups that somebody had put in after the fact. And I got this guitar for less than the price of the Fat Cats new. So what I've done with this is, first off, I replaced the pickups with lace Holy Grail pickups. Kind of an underrated pickup. They cut really well live. This is my main live guitar. And they cut really well for like funk and clean sounds. But they also sound really good with distortion and overdrive. So very versatile. Then I've also, the electronics are stock basically, but they've all been replaced with CTS pots and Switchcraft switch. This is a Fender mint green pickguard. So the bridge is a standard Mexico Strat bridge, but I've replaced the saddles with Highwood contoured Strat saddles. They don't stab you in the hand while you're playing. Very nice. They got a little groove in them so that the strings stay in place as well. Very nice. Recommend. They're kind of expensive, but I do recommend it. The neck is a Fender USA Strat neck maple with rosewood fingerboard. I've got a bone nut and Fender locking tuners here. I love locking tuners, especially on all my live guitars, because I can change the strings really fast. Like if I have a gig coming up, I usually change every gig, so it's really quick, really easy. And on the back here, I have replaced, I don't have this set up for floating, so it's just blocked off, but I've replaced the block with a all brass block from GFS or guitarfetish.com. I highly recommend these. Improve sustain. Just makes the tone of the guitar sound a lot better. And then other than that, we've got strap locks added, and that's it. What I really love about this guitar too is the body is really light. So this comes in just around 7 pounds for the whole guitar. It's great. Great live. Great on your shoulder for long gigs. Okay, with this guitar, we got a lot going on here. So first off, this is a Fender body, Sunburst, all alder. And with this one, we've got a Warmoth neck, warmoth.com. And the backwood is Afra, so the main neck wood is Afra, and the fingerboard is Pal Ferro. So this has a compound radius fretboard, 10 inches here, 16 inches here. So it's really flat up here and more comfortable up here. And on this one, I've got Planet Waves locking tuners. Again, I love the locking tuners for anything I use live because quick string changes. So then obviously on this one, we've got my Roland GK pickup for my guitar synth. I don't really use that too much anymore, but if I ever need it here at home for a studio something, I can just grab it and use it really quick. This one has an LR Baggs S bridge. So this has your piezo, whatever you want to call them, pickups in it so that you can get your nice acoustic sound. Then here, these pickups, we have a Seymour Duncan JB, which is great for your, 80s metal type tones, or even, thrash metal. Megadeth, for example. Dave Mustaine used these. In the middle, we've got a Fender CS69, Custom Shop 69. That's the David Gilmour, Jimi Hendrix type model with the gray bobbin. And here we have a Seymour Duncan little 59 neck. It's actually pretty versatile. It's kind of in between a single coil and a PAF, so not quite super thick and not quite super thin. It's nice. It's really versatile. Okay, with the electronics, we've got kind of a lot going on here. So first off, we have a normal volume pot, normal 5-way Switchcraft switch. This tone knob, the pot only controls the tone for these two. Much like most Strats, there's no tone for the bridge. And it's got a push-pull on it, so if I pull it up, then it adds the neck to any switch position. So most commonly you would do this here in the bridge position so you can add the neck to get that Telecaster middle or Les Paul middle tone. And this last knob does not involve tone at all. It is a variable coil split made by a company called PMT that you can get at amplifiedparts.com. And what it does is with this down, as you roll it down, it slowly starts to split the outer coils on the neck and bridge. So if I have it here and I have it on both these at the same time, then you would just get these two single coils on the outside. And then if I pull it up, it switches to the inner coils, so it'd be these two here. So pretty cool. Like if you want that kind of single coily sound when you're in the second position here and have these two on, you know, you can choose which one of these two you want and get different kind of tones. You can also, in just the bridge position, obviously make a just single coil type sound. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible either. So there you go. And that's pretty much it with this guitar. All right, so this one is actually my latest creation using a combination of old and new parts. This started out as a Lake Placid blue. I think it's a Mexico standard Strat from the 80s, but I'm not sure because the markings are kind of weird in the neck, but that's what it appears to be. It came with a knockoff neck, so I don't even know what brand the neck was, but it had a fraudulent Fender sticker on it. But I replaced that recently with this Fender American Performer neck. It's really nice. It's got an all satin finish. Feels really great on the hand. It's a 9.5-inch radius. And also Fender locking tuners, just like the other guitars. And this one just has the standard Fender Mexico bridge. And all of these are standard CTS pots and a standard Switchcraft switch. And for pickups, we've got a little custom. This is basically my David Gilmour Black Strat configuration. It's got a Seymour Duncan SSL1, just like his Black Strat, and then two Fender CS69 Custom Shop 69s. Those are the gray bobbin that the Hendrix and Gilmour type pickups. So then back here we've got, like my other Strat, I've got this all brass block, trem block here from GFS, guitarfetish.com, and a trem blocker right here just for extra sustain. This one is not floating either. That's why I have all the springs in here. And that's it for this guy. All right, so this guy is fairly recent as well. This one I call my Abasi Strat because it has Fishman, Tosin, Abasi pickups in it. This is a black Fender body, and this is a Fender roasted maple neck. And this one has a 12-inch radius, so it's a little bit flatter, satin on the back, gloss on the fingerboard. It's kind of a more shreddery type feeling neck. And again, the Fender locking tuners, in case I forget to mention it, I put strap locks on everything. I've had too many guitars take a nosedive right off my shoulder before, and not gonna have that happen again. But then I've got a Fender American Standard trem here. This one is floating actually. And one thing I've done with this is, like my old 90s Strat, I have a trem setter installed, which helps it return to zero. If you have these set up right, they work really well actually. So you can still be full floating, and if you break a string or you bend the strings, it doesn't go out of tune. So real nice. Of course, this one has the nice cutaway right there on the heel. And this also has jumbo frets, so it's a little bit bigger frets. The American Performer neck also has the bigger frets, which are nice for that shreddy type feel. So the Abasi pickups, I'm probably going to do a separate review and a separate video for those. And I have those wired up here with all of the options, so I can switch between the two different voicings and also coil split each one. So I've got two push pulls right here. And then just a common tone. So I have these wired up so that each one, this one's the bridge volume, this one's the neck volume, so I can kind of do the, the on-off kind of toggly thing if I need to. These are extremely hot pickups actually compared to all my other ones. So in my wireless unit, they actually roast the input. So I have to I have to turn the volume down to about 6 or 7 just to kind of match it. And still even then, like the single coil sound is like super hot. It does sound, they do all sound great. So if you're plugging straight into an amp, that's not a problem. They overdrive an amp nice. They have the vintage voicing is actually like almost a perfect old EMG Metallica type sound. Because I have a Mesa Mark 2C preamp, and it sounds like dead on Metallica or Dream Theater, early Dream Theater. So pretty cool. Like I said, I'll probably do a separate review video just on these pickups and kind of go over the different tones that are available. I don't see a lot of reviews of these out there for some reason, so thought I would do that. All right, so we'll move on from the Strats onto the Jazzmaster here. And this guy started life as a Squire. I don't know if it was a vintage modified or a classic vibe, because when I got it, it was pretty clear that it had been sitting in a warehouse for a really long time. This is a Guitar Center special color, Daphne blue. And the neck was dry, so dry the frets were popping out. The neck looked like it was going to crack, and the neck pocket was super loose, and the holes that attach the neck to the body were almost twice the size that they should be. So it obviously had like been mishandled in shipping or something. It was really rough, so I had to fill in the holes. And I also put some material around the neck pocket so that the new neck here would be nice and tight. And so I've replaced it with a Fender Mexico Jazzmaster neck with a Pal Faro fingerboard and maple neck, obviously. I put in new vintage style tuners. I actually really like these because they're like locking tuners almost. I mean, you just stuff them in, twist it around, and they stay in tune great. I really like these. And they look cool too, obviously. So then the trem, I replaced this with an American Vintage reissue AVRI. They're not as expensive as the Panoramas and the other, I forget what the name of the other ones are. These are usually around 60 to 90 bucks. And it's well worth it because the Squire ones are not great. But they drop right in, fit perfectly. I also replaced the bridge here, the vintage style bridge, with a Warmoth Mustang bridge. So it's already the perfect radius, and it has, has the slots in there so that these won't pop out so easy like in the vintage style bridge. The other thing I did, I know purists will hate me for this, but I wrapped the bridge posts so that this won't go back and forth, because it drove me nuts. I mean, every time you, bend a string, this thing's like popping, going back and forth. I hate that. So, yeah. And I don't, abuse the trem all the time like some people do. So it doesn't really affect the tuning, and it feels great to me that way. So the electronics are actually still the stock Squire. I actually bought all the replacements for it, but it really sounded fine. And then, so I'll do it sometime in the future. But I've replaced the Squier pickups with, these are just American, the Fender American Vintage, I think they're called. They're kind of the standard one. And they sound excellent to me. I originally was going to get like some Fralins or Lolars or something, but these were like $125 and they sound perfect to me. And that's really it for this guy. All right, so last but not least is my Tele here. And this is a mostly Warmoth build. It's an Inca silver showcase body. It's all swamp ash, so that's nice. Kind of has a zingy, zesty sound, as I like to call it. Not a scientific term, very subjective. And this is a Telecaster neck. This one is actually what they call a conversion neck, so it's 24 3/4 scale instead of the 25.5 scale. So like the, Gibson Les Paul scale. Gives it a kind of a unique feel. It's still the compound radius 10 to 16 here. And originally when I got this neck, and this is not Warmoth's fault because they tell you have to do a final leveling. I didn't know how to do the leveling myself, so I took it to a supposedly renowned local guy, and he just made it basically so it buzzed on pretty much every fret in every position. It was just absolutely asinine. Oh, and I guess I should say these are stainless steel frets, which may contribute a little bit to that, but I don't think so. So I took it to yet another guy who said, oh yeah, the other guy just didn't know how to work with compound radiuses, so he did it, and it was worse. All he really did was he put a ton of relief into the neck, and it played like absolute garbage after that. So then I took it to a third person, and it was maybe slightly better. Still buzzed on pretty much every position in the entire neck. Sounded like a sitar. And then I took it to yet another guy, and they made it so that it only buzzed in the middle. And again, they put a ton of relief, which if you're familiar with Warmoth necks and compound radius, it's like you pretty much almost have them dead flat for the most optimized. I mean, you can add a bunch of relief if you want, but usually you have them pretty flat. And so finally, I had kind of learned how to do it by this time, and so I just did it the standard way that you would do it, and now it's nearly perfect. So I don't know what was up with all these supposed guitar techs, but they were all awful, and it cost me more than basically almost as much as the guitar cost with all that. So very frustrating. But what I will say is this has the Fender No-Caster Telecaster pickups in it, and these sound amazing. It sounds like perfect all the time. I don't know if it's just the combination of woods and this guitar, but that's been the saving grace of all the headaches with the fretwork. The pickups sound amazing, they always have. I don't think I'd ever want to change them. The bridge I actually keep changing out. Originally I had the three brass saddle ashtray pickup or bridge, and that one just kind of hurt my hand over long periods of time resting on it. It's pretty sharp, so I kind of like knocked it down a little bit, but it's still really sharp, and the intonation was just impossible to get right. So then I got some basically compensated saddles for that. And it was a little better, but it didn't sound as good as the brass saddles did, but it was better intonation-wise. So then, since I was primarily using this guitar for recording, I just ended up buying the 6-saddle bridge because it's like perfect intonation, and I don't listen back to recordings and go, wow, the Telecaster's out of tune on half the song. So that's why I did that. These are just standard Telecaster electronics here. And these are actually vintage locking tuners, but I'm gonna swap these out because these are actually terrible. You have to tighten them on the top as you turn it. And if you don't do it just right, it pops right out. So they suck, but I won't tell you what brand they are. Just if you see ones that are like that, I would advise against them. This is also very lightweight, and it's I've used it for recording on like tons of my songs. So if you hear any of my songs, it's probably got at least one track of this Telecaster on it. All right, so my next build here is going to be another Telecaster. This one's going to feature this Mexico Deluxe Telecaster neck, and it will have locking tuners on it. This neck feels great already. It's nice and satiny. And then we're going to have this all black body on it. I haven't figured out which pickups I'm going to do yet. I was originally thinking a Fralin steel pole noiseless, which is like a P90 pickup. And then maybe like a Gretschy type pickup here, and maybe a Strat one in the middle. I don't know. We'll see. The pots might be kind of funky on that, so we'll see what ends up happening. But then for the bridge, I have a Vibromate Bigsby, so I can take it on or off depending on if I like it or not, but I've already got that. And so basically I kind of want to make it, since I already have another Telecaster, I kind of want to make this have unique pickups in it. So that's kind of the nice thing about building these, is you can kind of use your imagination and, you know, put different configurations, different pickups, and it's just a lot of fun to do. And I think in a future video, I'm going to show myself putting this together and all the ups and downs and pitfalls and things you have to watch for when you put these things together. All right, well, thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. If you like what you saw here, consider subscribing to my channel so I can get this thing off the ground. It'll really help me out a lot. And if you like the video, click on like. That'll also help me out a lot. Any links that I've talked about within the video, I'm going to try to put those in the description below. And also, if you want to listen to any of my music, I have both original songs and cover songs on all the major streaming services. I'll put links to those below as well. And lastly, if there's anything you want to hear me talk about on this channel, just leave those in the comments below, and maybe I'll make a video about it someday. Who knows? All right? Bye-bye!